This is a Cameleon 3 chassis, and we just wanted to go over some of the improvements that have been made with the Cameleon 3, because it seems to us that a lot of people are kind of associating Cameleon 2 and Cameleon 3 as though a few things have changed, and there have been some changes. So we've made some videos opening up the central locking mechanism, and though they have kept the same general system, and it can break in some of the same ways, the parts are a little bit larger. And it does take a little bit more in order to break it, and it feels a lot more sturdy when you travel with the stroller. So moving a little bit in though from the outer disc, it's a 3-disc system instead of a 4-disc system. The major advantage with this is that when you put the seat on and it locks in place, there's not this system where little pegs go from one disc into another in order to lock that. The problem with that on the Cameleon 2 and the Cameleon 1 as well is that a lot of times the system between the two inner discs would get out of alignment, and you would have trouble where you couldn't fold these parts together, or where the seat was really hard to put on and off. And so that problem has been entirely fixed. We've also noticed that the front wheels are a lot sturdier with the new metal axle thing. So I had some worries at first that you'd wind up with wobbly wheel problems, as you find with a lot of other strollers that have this kind of axle going into a swivel mechanism, but we haven't actually noticed that. Everything works really tight, and switching out the type of axle and ball bearings that they have here on the wheel has also created more stability here, so there haven't been as many issues there. Same is actually true for the back wheel. This kind of axle, it doesn't bend the way the other one did, and so you don't get this problem where the back wheel is bending in and knocking against the brake shoe and creating this rattling motion. I suppose it could occur, but I think that there's less room for it to bend simply because there's less room between the inner part of the rim and the chassis itself where they go together. There's no real room for it to bend, whereas there was on the Cameleon 2. Moving up to the top, Cameleon 2 had a number of problems with the mechanism here, that it was like a rubber sheet that held against the handle, and this would of course wear down, and we have videos showing how to replace it. Cameleon 1 actually had a really nice solution with like a thing that you unscrewed. That tended to have very few problems. This can wear down as well, of course. It has two small pegs that fit in these slots along the back side of the handle, but the problem doesn't seem to occur as often as it did with Cameleon 2. The brake handle is a real improvement. So a lot of people would have trouble getting a decent position for the brakes, and they would say it's hard to take on and off, and you could get it like tight to a certain extent, but then it wouldn't fully brake and stuff. They've altered the way that works with the gear wheels. Here, there's just one position for on and off, and as well below, there's no longer the adjustment rate, the regulator for how tight the brakes are. Instead, it's like a spring that fits in. And the whole system seems to be measured perfectly. In general, experience using the Cameleon 3 versus Cameleon 2s is that it does feel less rattly when you are walking with it. It still doesn't have the kind of stability that the Buffalo has, but the Buffalo is a larger and more stable chassis, and the price tag shows that as well. This is a lighter stroller, meant for city use mostly and so on, but it still does have a little bit more robustness than the Cameleon 2 had. So we just wanted to point these things out. We tend to talk about what goes wrong with strollers a lot, so sometimes we tend to forget to cite the improvements the companies make and so on.